All right, hello everyone. I'm Jason Christian, the Senior Product Manager for Keyboards, Mice, and Mousepads here at SteelSeries.
Hey, I'm Jeff Maulmeister. I'm Head of Product Management at SteelSeries.
We're super excited to be able to talk with you guys today. Apparently there's no audio. There we go. All right, we just had a slight delay. Hopefully we're up and running. Everything's looking good. Really good, great to be doing these today. We have two really exciting launches that just went live last night, and I'm sure you're reading about them today. And we wanted to just take some time and sit down and talk about some of the really key features of the product, and then answer any questions that you guys may have out there that you want to pick our brains on.
Yeah. Why don't you give a quick 30-second overview of the products?
So we have the Rival 310 and the Sensei 310. These are our next generation of essentially our most successful mice that we've ever done. And we really wanted to start off with the core technology of these products to be a brand new esports sensor. So we had the great pleasure to work with Pixar to be able to develop a custom sensor called TrueMove 3. And within TrueMove 3 is, maybe we'll talk a little bit later about the DPI arms race, but, it's getting ridiculous out there, right? I mean, I remember when the Avago 3090 was 4,000, then you go into 5,000, 8,200, 12,000, 16,000. Jeff, should we do a mouse that has 30,000? No, I don't think so. So we said, instead of, let's put a respectable 12,000 CPI in both these products, but instead of, just, using CPI alone as a measure, let's find out, really 4 key areas that make a sensor great other than CPI. And, one that we really worked on a lot was to have true one-to-one tracking, and then working on response times and latency, advanced jitter reduction, especially at some of the higher CPIs, and then really that secret sauce where the real true collaboration came in with Pixar and with their custom SROM that we did with them. So, it's all about esports and it's not about CPI. And, we really feel from all of our testing data, we've had the best tracking sensor available to date right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A couple other features, that we really focus on when developing this. The materials.
Yep.
Material science and what you choose when you develop a product is key to it. So we really set out to focus to hit a target of around 90 grams in weight. So when we started with this, we looked at even doing fiber reinforced plastic so that we can make the shells of the mouse that much, millimeter thinner to reduce the weight. We also went first to the market with pure silicone side grips, so you get just a kick-ass feeling that's going to last the lifetime of your mouse.
Your hand just really locks in when you put your hand on the mouse, and those grips are, especially for me when I am a low DPI player, I play around 400 CPI, and I'm really able to just kind of lock in my hand grip on it.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. And then I think a last feature that we first launched when we first launched with our flagship product, the Rival 700, is we brought our split trigger design down. So I think that's been a great, it's been a great feature, and it's been really well received by our pro players. And it's nice because it really allows us to fine tune the click feel, and you get a very consistent click feel no matter your grip style. So if you're clicking at the bottom of the left mouse button or the top, you're getting the same great feeling.
Yep. So that's just a quick rundown of the product overview. I see some questions are already popping up there. So I think the first question is, will the sensor be available in the Rival 700? So that's something we're looking at right now to potentially do. I could tell you that we don't have any plans right away to introduce it into the Rival 700, but with the 700, if you're not familiar with the Rival 700, it has the ability for the sensor to detach out of the bottom of the mouse and then plug in whatever the latest sensor is out. So that's something that I think in a couple weeks we'll look at in a little bit more detail. So all I can say right now is stay tuned for that. Okay. All right. So side grips, comparison between the Rival 300 and the Rival 310.
Sure. When we first launched the 300, we focused on some great feeling and grip. So we went with a rubber compound, which provided some great feel, and we had a kind of a micro pattern texture that really gave a lot of grip. We really went to enhance it this time around to give a better feel, but most importantly, give a much longer lifetime on the grip of it, and that's where we chose our kind of our pure silicone compound material for the side grips.
Yeah, and it's a pretty thick material as well. So the durability is going to be pretty extreme. We've been testing it nonstop with all the normal tests you do for abrasion, alcohol abrasion tests.
Yeah.
Um, you know, you've probably seen in some of like on our product page, Samil from Evil Geniuses has been using the Rival or the Sensei 310 since the early prototype, which had these grips on it. And you can just imagine the time that he's putting on there, even leading up to TI right now. So no durability concerns with this new compound of silicone that we're using on the side grips.
Yep, definitely.
Oh, the Merc Stealth from Chris Moore again. Was he at PAX? I swear it's the same people asking me over and over again to bring back the Merc Stealth. And you said you pay $300 for it, right? Yeah, I don't even know how to address that. I could just say you're not the first one to bring it back, or bring it up and ask to bring it back. I don't know if we need to do a Kickstarter or some kind of, yeah. Thank you. I think when we leave this, everybody in the office is going to be asking about that now.
Yep.
Yeah. But thank you for your question. Amir is asking, how do we pick the rival names and the numbers?
Good question. So, kind of the obvious, kind of very general statement is our numerical system will help guide a kind of a first-time gamer maybe that's looking at our entire line. So it'll kind of give a line logic of this is a flagship product because the number is higher. So that might coincide with a price point. So that's the very top level. That shouldn't be rocket science for anybody. BMW does it with their cars. That's a pretty standard thing. We chose the 10, the second digit nomenclature to show that we were evolving from the Rival 300 line. So we took what was good about it and we made the product a little bit smaller, better in every way, but we also wanted to share that numerical system across the new Sensei and Rival to show that we had the same feature set, the same great TrueMove 3 sensor.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have Zero Wing is asking about, you guys keep on talking about the true one-to-one tracking. Doesn't every esports mouse have it? So that's a great question. I mean, that's something that our team, our engineering team, really went to the drawing board on this. Is that you have people saying one-to-one tracking or CPI is better or more IPS are better, but what is it? We looked at like what does that actually mean? What is one-to-one? And there's really no universal description of what one-to-one actually is. People test it all different ways. People talk about it all different ways. So we kind of broke it down to its core, and really looking to redefine what one-to-one is, and making sure that you have a sensor from your first CPI all the way to 12,000. That is just as you move your hand from point A to point B and your muscle memory kicks in, you're not going to have any latency, jitter, none of those things to be able to really say, hey, this is one-to-one. And I know you were pretty passionate about that too on the one-to-one tracking.
Yeah, when we started developing these products initially, the original idea was really a response to the community. We were getting probably our biggest product request I've seen in my 6 years here was just give me a Sensei with a 3360 or give me a Rival with a higher end optical. That's kind of where the product started from. And as we started to develop this and work with our pro players and a lot of our ex-pro players or competitive players internally, we started really researching some of the top sensors out there. We realized that as great as some of the best sensors were, they weren't quite truly one-to-one.
Yeah.
And, in the old days, way back in the day, people would hunt down what's the native CPI of a setting, and people would try to find the 200 or the 400 because that was the one place where it had the least amount of interpolation or any of that added to it.
Yep.
So what we really did here was let's try to satisfy the wide range of what we think is the widest range of what most competitive players will play in, and that's 100 to 3,500 CPI. And we really wanted to say, how do we remove any jitter reduction, any interpolation, any lag,
Yep.
remove all of that, and totally optimize the sensor to deliver that at this really wide range. At the end of the day, any interpolation, acceleration, lag, it destroys the muscle memory that you build up with experience. So we
Yep.
really wanted to solve that specific product.
Yeah, and
problem.
we tested some of the leading mice on the market, and we have a chart on our website that goes over, especially when we talk about inches per second. But what we found is even that some people that are using, the 3360, is that, when they're talking about their sensor being true one-to-one, even at lower CPIs, are introducing latency. And we don't know why you would do that. I mean, or actually, we do know why, but why would you type thing, right?
Yeah.
And so, that is not true one-to-one for us. And so, like I said, and as Jeff mentioned, we're redefining what one-to-one is because it's about the experience we want to deliver to you guys to have the best possible tracking in the world.
Okay, we're getting a lot of questions
Yeah.
and requests to show the mice.
Okay.
So we're going to try to give a nice
Which one? Are you a
close-up.
Sensei guy or a Rival guy?
I'm a Sensei
I'm
guy.
a Rival. I've been using. I use the Rival at home. A lot of Counter-Strike Go. So
Yeah, I'm a big Sensei guy. It's actually one of the reasons why I first joined SteelSeries. Sensei came out and I fell in love with the product, and I wanted to see how I could be part of building great stuff like that.
yeah. So we got a question, and along with gaming, can someone working with an editor or a designer use the mouse, and which one is bigger? So we do have the specification listed on our website. It's hard to really say which one's bigger or smaller because they're different.
Yeah.
So one thing we do is we definitely list the specifications from the width here, middle, and back. But I would definitely say if you get the opportunity, put your hand on the mice and see which one's best for you. If you are usually using, you tend to use like a claw grip or just a more traditional palm grip, probably the Rival 300 might be, or 310 might be better for you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a, kind of like a pinch gripper or even a claw gripper, the Sensei 310 may be better for you. So I would look at the dimensions of the product, but then also how do you grip the mouse? And that will pretty much tell you which one would be great for you because both mice share all the same great tech inside.
Yep, and speaking of the measurements, we've had a lot of feedback and questions in our specs on our product pages to give multiple measurements. So when you guys are looking at it, when we're measuring the length, we provide the top, the middle,
Yep.
and then the back, we do the widest actual point. So if you look at the product pages, it's the widest measurement. Obviously, we'll use calipers, not my fingers, be a little bit more precise than that. But that's how we're starting to address some of your guys' questions of giving you even more details on the product.
Yep. And then we got from Gil asked if DPI impacts how the one-to-one works. Absolutely not. That was really key for us is to have, the sensor goes from 100 to 12,000 with 100 DPI increments. It was very important to us that we are true to our specifications, and from any part of the spectrum, we provide great tracking. We found, again, with some of our testing, is that an advertised specification may not necessarily mean that you get that for whatever CPI you use. And, for an example, if you're playing with, 800 CPI, maybe your IPS on a advertised sensor says 450, but it actually doesn't do that. So we want to make sure you get the full IPS without any input delay, without any errors through the whole spectrum. So this mouse you could truly use any CPI increment to have the true one-to-one tracking.
Yep. Next question. What is the comparison graphs between the 310s, the Death Adder Elite, etc. on the product page supposed to represent? All right, I'll tackle this one.
I got some stuff on that as well.
So I'll give a little bit of background on this. So when we develop our mice, we spend a lot of R&D resources and engineer time to develop our own jigs or test tools to really ensure that the performance during the development period of our sensors and our mice meets our specs. So kind of imagine like an old vinyl record player. I'm going to oversimplify this. And it rotates at extremely high speeds. And we put our mouse on top of it. We actually cut a black QCK, a QCK black, we put it on it, and we move the mouse at different angles. And what this does is it goes at a very, very high RPM and velocity, and so we can start testing our own products at 50 IPS, 100 IPS, 150, 200, etc. You get it. And what we're testing is we know how far we're physically moving the mouse, so we then compare this to the raw input value of the XY delta that comes to a Windows machine. And what we're looking for is one-to-one tracking, which in the simplest term is we're controlling how far we're moving the mouse. We want the XY value to be as precise as possible. What that graph shows is us testing our product as well as some of our competitor products and showing that there's actually deviation in the deltas that are being reported. Now, what causes that deviation? There could be latency or lag. There could be errors. So really that graph is showing, I believe the one that we showed is kind of the threshold of the performance.
Yeah.
Us at I think it was around 300 to 350 IPS, and some of our competitors at their threshold where the mouse sensor completely starts reporting inaccurate values.
Yeah, and we could even go higher on the IPS, and the graph would literally, we'd have to take even more part of our web page with some of the errors that the competitor sensors were reporting too.
Yeah.
On that, and that's a great explanation, Jeff. And also, for us too, as product developers, we're always trying to, push the limits of performance as well. And so we like to look at this data of our competitors and know that, how do we make it better and better because it's a benefit to you. And we want to push our competitors that this is really not acceptable and that, we want to, set the best tracking possible and continue to evolve so you guys get better and better products no matter if it's from us or anybody else, is just continue to evolve these products because, these are our tools, not our toys that we play with every night. All right, split trigger buttons. So can you explain a little bit more about that? Sure. So the split trigger button is a design that we first used in our flagship Rival 700 mouse. And traditionally, a lot of gaming mice, even mice that we've done in the past, have one plastic piece from the front to the back. And by splitting the triggers, you get greater durability, but more importantly, you get better click feel. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't had the chance to experience the Rival 700, it's got some of the, if not the best click feel of any product that I've ever used. And so we wanted to take that tech down to a product that's $59.99. On both the Sensei 310 and the Rival 310. So it gives you a nice big area to actuate the switches. It splits them. Also, underneath them, we're using Omron mechanical switches rated for 50 million key presses. So, Omron provides great switches. So, when you get a chance, it has really satisfying click feel. I especially, wanted to tune these for burst firing or, one taps in Counter-Strike Go or even sprays and holds. You just get a really nice, satisfying click. So that's our split trigger design for both products.
Yeah, another question I get, which looks like I'm seeing here, is why don't more manufacturers do it?
Yeah.
To be completely frank and honest, it's harder and more expensive.
Yeah.
A clamshell design, which we have done historically as well, it's just easier to manufacture and a little bit cheaper. Doing the split trigger, it takes more precision and more development effort to really get that feel you want. But the benefits, if you're willing to take longer to develop your product, you can fine-tune that click feel exactly the way our gamers are looking for. So the payoff is huge. It just takes a little bit longer to develop it that way.
So we got a question about the feel of the scroll wheel. So yeah, I mean the scroll wheel. We do a lot of fine tuning with the scroll wheel. The scroll wheel will be a little bit. We make it a little bit harder to press than the left and right click, just so you don't have accidental presses of when you scroll. One thing with the product as well is that especially when we go to mass production, there can be literally no rattle with the product. So when you move these, there's literally nothing that rattles within the product. And that's very important. There are mice on the market that either rattle one place or the other. So that just speaks to some of the build quality of this particular product.
Yep. We actually have a rattle test at the end of our line.
Yep.
Believe it or not making that one up.
Yep, because it's that important.
Every single unit off the line.
Yep. So the one-to-one tracking and
good
the
question.
Windows setting. I know that's something you're extremely passionate about. You were just talking about it this morning.
Yeah. Yes. So we get this question a lot. I guess much more frequently in the last couple of days. Now that we are offering products that have a really wide range of great one-to-one tracking,
Yep.
some people that maybe they're not on Overclock or the mouse subreddits and stuff like that. They want to know how do they best set up their gaming environment. Couple things. So in Windows, you have the ability to change some of your pointer options. So we recommend staying on 6 out of 11, so that there will be no interpolation, meaning multiplication, of your incoming XY delta. So if you change it from 6 to, let's say, 8, I believe off the top of the head it'll double or do 1.5x of what your true CPI is. And then the second one, probably the more dangerous one that Windows actually enables by default, is enhanced pointer precision, aka mouse acceleration.
Yep.
Obviously, you can appreciate why that's on by default. I mean, the vast majority of the world using Windows uses trackpads or $10 mice that have terrible sensors. So it actually turns on acceleration by default. So the higher velocity as you increase the velocity of your physical movement, it actually increases the output CPI. That's bad for gaming. That is rule number one. That destroys your muscle memory you build up. So those are probably the two big ones in Windows. A third one that the CSGO community is obviously very familiar with is if your game of choice that you're playing actually supports something commonly referred to raw input, we highly encourage you to enable that in-game. That will make sure that you bypass any of the Windows OS interpolation that's on. So those are kind of some of the three big points that we try to hammer on about how to make sure that you're enjoying your best tracking with your new gaming mouse.
All right, so next question coming through right now. All right, Can you hit F4 again? Someone's asking for the names. Someone wants our names. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Gone.
Gone.
There it is. Gone. Good screenshots.
All right, so let's pick another one.
Now we're getting
I think
made fun of for our production values.
Yeah, we're getting trolled. Oh well. Can you talk weight of the mice?
Sure. You want to handle this one?
Yeah, sure. So weight's extremely important, right, to us, and really early on in the product development, people were asking us, "Can you make the previous version smaller?" Were they heavy? No, but there seems to be a little bit of trend where the mice are getting lighter and lighter, but they still need to feel like they're good quality. So depending on which mouse you have, we've taken off about 10 grams of weight from the previous version of the product. So the Rival 310 weighs in, I think it's 88.1 or 88.3, and then the Sensei 310 is about 92 grams. So both are going to be lighter than the previous versions, and we've done that with increasing materials and some of the things we've done with the plastic, with the fiber reinforced. But it was very important for us is to reduce the weight of the mice, but not have them feel cheap. which can tend to be on light mice. They feel very plasticky, and just they just don't feel very good in your hand. Future color schemes. I think your Hyper Beast hoodie is sparking a lot of these things. So right now the plan is for black, but definitely if you guys have some suggestions or holler out, some suggestions right now for colors, we'll definitely take that into consideration. But right now we're planning on the black mice. Of course, we make our Rival 100 in a lot of different colors, but we'll basically make whatever color is the most popular that you guys want to see. So definitely let us know in the chat or the comments of this video what would you like to see as a new color scheme. I definitely would love to see a Hyper Beast version of this in the future, but who knows?
Yeah, definitely give us feedback on what you'd like to see. How does the Rival 310 compare to the 300? Sure. I guess we can first talk about, there's a bunch of things.
Yeah.
We can first talk about form factor.
Mm-hmm.
I see this question a lot. The form factor probably looks pretty familiar, right? Obviously, we evolved. Let's block him out for a second. Much better.
Face for radio. Yeah.
We've evolved the ergonomics and the design from the Rival 300. What we've done is, it's probably, don't quote me on this, we probably shrunk the 300 1 to 2 percentage points.
Yeah, it's
kind of
a
overall.
little over 1, but about 1%. But it makes a difference on the size.
Yeah, I think of all the feedback around the 300, there was a subset of our gaming audience that thought the 300 was borderline slightly too big. So we definitely reacted to that. So it's a little bit smaller, but it's the same general form factor. We also decreased the height of the back hump here to be a little bit more accommodating of different grip styles. Another difference between the two is we've gone away from the rubber side in the 300 to our new pure silicone sides. We've obviously upgraded, as you can see visually, from the clamshell design on the Rival 300. We've brought down the split trigger design that was first introduced in the Rival 700 and also exists in the Rival 500. And then, the big feature that we've upgraded is we've gone to the True Move 3 sensor. So it's a big step up from the 3310, which was the optical sensor that debuted in the Rival back in 2014. So it's a big step up in terms of performance and one-to-one tracking.
So liftoff or how does your liftoff distance compare to other mice, and specifically Zoe or Zowie, depending on how you guys want to say it. So, liftoff distance is very important, as you know. As we all know. So, a lot of what we did with the sensor, especially the placement of the sensor, is to make sure the sensor sits in the proper spot to optimize lift distance. By default, the product is, depending on the surface you're using, it's about 1 to 2 millimeters, but it can vary depending on what you're using. But especially versus Zoe and part of our tracking, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about some of the skipping that we see with Zoe as well for the product.
Yeah, I think to first kind of further answer, the liftoff distance I think is going to be what you would expect on a esports mouse and super competitive mouse.
Yep.
Again, depending on the surface, you are going to range probably between 1.5 to 2 millimeters of liftoff distance. So that's going to be a little bit lower than something like some of the Zowie mice. A little bit lower liftoff distance. I think another important aspect, though, to not forget about is how the sensor actually tracks on lift off and on lift back down. And that's something that we've done a lot of testing on, and there's a lot of graphs out there and videos that you've seen some of the other mice in competitive play that on a back to lift down, touch back down to the surface, you can get some inaccuracy jitters, or you've seen people spin up. So we've tested this thoroughly to also make sure not only that it has a low lift off distance, but we have no issues on lift up and lift off and touch down.
Can't have that. It's unacceptable to have that.
Yep.
So can you cover the cables, and will it have a 3D printable plate? So the 3D printable plate we removed part of this. Part of that was the weight reduction as well of the product. But the cables are using a nice soft rubber. We are not fans of braided cables, especially how thick they are. How when you get them, we all have gotten them out of the box, right? And literally the cable is like this, and like you're trying to track, and it's all screwed up. So we use a nice rubber finish that I think you'll be pleasantly surprised of how well when you move it. Not only if you use a bungee or you just lay it flat, it's gonna glide really nice, and you're gonna really have no no snagging or friction dragging on either your mouse surface or your desk in front of your mouse surface.
Yep, and I saw another question if the cables were detachable or not.
Yeah.
So on the Sensei and Rival 310, they're not detachable unless you bite it off or something. Two reasons for that. One, we really wanted to make sure we hit a great price point for these products. And secondly, we were obsessed on the weight. So building a system that has a female connector to make it detachable adds honestly a couple grams of weight, maybe a little bit more than that. I mean, we really obsessed about the weight for this product.
Yeah. And then it looks like we're getting some questions off of YouTube, just something we answered earlier about the stay tuned. I mean, the Rival sensor, the TrueMove 3 sensor on Rival 700. Stay tuned for that. We can't talk about it yet. Then as well as the side grips as well. So yes, the side grips are our new silicone compound. It's not rubber. It's not traditionally either just plastic, rubber, or even a molded texture in the side of the mold. So it's got brand new and improved, extremely durable. We mentioned earlier that Samil from Evil Geniuses has been using these products for months at tournaments, their practice regiment, taking it to TI 7 coming up. So they still look great, so they're holding up great. Should have no issues.
Somebody's asking, is the Sensei ambidextrous? Yes, of course.
Yes.
It's a Sensei.
And it's if you were to put the 3D CAD over the previous version of the Sensei over this one, the shapes are essentially identical. Just with some of the design elements, specifically what will throw you off from a visual standpoint is what I'm seeing is the split trigger and then also the side grips. But there are I've seen some really great comparisons in the last 12 hours of people comparing pictures, dimensions, bottom shots. So it's really important that this is the next generation Sensei, and the shape is nearly identical.
Yep. Long question. Hold on. Somebody's asking how much smoothing this mouse has, depending on DPI level, compared to other 3360 base sensors. You want to take that one?
Well, we have no smoothing at the lower CPI. So from 100 to, and smoothing is a relative term, but from 100 to 3500, there's absolutely no smoothing. And then from 3500 to 12,000, we don't call it smoothing because smoothing is just I don't want to say a weird term, but that is when after 3500 CPI, you have to find the perfect balance of the jitter reduction. To be able to first make the mouse actually usable and then not introduce the input or lag delay that really makes the sensor unusable. I mean, I do understand it's going to be extremely fast, but when you start adding lag to that, it's unusable. And basically, as a manufacturer, if someone does that, all they're doing is looking at trying to get a really good CPI for a marketing number, and that's not what we did.
Good question. So not only are some people giving us already ideas for game and color spins on these, they're asking what's the best way for people to voice. I would say right now, leave comments on social media. I think maybe what we'll do is maybe on our subreddit and stuff like that, maybe we can have a sticky thread that...
do a poll or something like that.
Yeah, we can do some polls to get your feedback.
Yeah, it would look really awesome with one of the Dota 2 headsets that we just, the Arctis. headset.
Yeah,
That would look awesome.
for sure.
We'll see. Can you cover the gap on the split triggers? Yeah, this is something, something I did see. So I believe you're probably referring to this gap right here. Um, I mean, there isn't, we did have to break it up to be able to do split triggers.
Yeah.
So I believe that's what you're referring to on there. So there's not like a huge gap. I could show you the product here when you see the close up. I mean, you can't see through it, or you could barely see through it. Obviously we had to create some kind of gap to split the triggers, but it's not massive where a potato chip is going to get stuck in there or anything like that.
Yeah, I actually think some of the comments that I've seen the last 12 hours or
Yeah,
questions around it is what they're seeing in terms of, visually seeing the assets on the product page and
yeah,
stuff like that. And I actually think people will be surprised when they get it in person that the gaps are very
yeah.
minimal. There was actually a design choice that we made. I don't know if, our camera's going to be high res enough here.
4K? No, we don't have 4K.
No, but there's
No.
there's like a 45-degree angle. So it was a design choice to give it a little bit more of an aggressive look, where the gap actually isn't here to here. It's actually very, very thin, much thinner than my
Yeah.
fingernail. There's a design choice where we go back body, 45-degree angle down, and then a 45-degree angle up.
Hmm.
So I think people will be pleasantly surprised when they get the product in hand that,
It's like an optical illusion a little
yeah,
bit, just from if
basically.
you see a
Yep.
static image
Yep.
on the intraweb. How do you set up RGB profiles and lighting zones? So all that can be configured through SteelSeries Engine. So this is two-zone. So you could set the scroll wheel and the logo independent of each other. Of course, you're going to have access to our engine apps where we first introduced our QCK Prism mousepad. So you'll get the Dota 2, Counter-Strike Go, GameSense support, Minecraft. And then you'll be able to configure it to basically anything you want with lighting effects. Prism Sync, you can sync it up to all your other RGB products like the Arctis 5. So you're going to get some good customization, just kind of show it off. But then you're gonna get some functionality too for Counter Strike to see your health or your cooldown timers for Dota 2.
Yep. Somebody's asking, why an ARM processor? So, just what Jason had talked about. There's a couple reasons why we spent the dollars and had an ARM processor in there. One was onboard. So you get to store your key rebinds, your CPI settings, your polling rates, and your lighting, including if you make your own lighting effects and color shift animations, that all get stored on board. So you can use it at a LAN or a tournament, software free. That was obviously a key wish list from our customers, and something we've been doing, frankly, for years. I mean, obviously we did this 7 years ago when we launched the Xi and the Sensei, but our Rival 700 or Rival 500, our 2310s, they both have full onboard memory. Second is we also optimize the processor to help with our main loop and our firmware, so that we can pull the buttons and really react to the inputs from the sensor and the buttons at the fastest possible time. So, good question.
So it looks like we had a question regarding some GameSense support. Toad King? Are you familiar? You played Toad King? We got to hide Jeff in there too. So we're always. We're looking to add more games and more engine apps. I would say stay tuned for that. Again, sorry to kind of give you that. We're never going to stop developing and working with publishers on apps, and not only for new products we launch, but enhancing existing products like you already have, like the Rival 700 or the Arctis 5, or really any product. It could be difficult because sometimes when you're working with really large A+ titles, they're not as open to opening up their games to work with our SteelSeries engine. But we're always looking to enhance, and I would just say stay tuned. We have some exciting announcements coming up in the future about that as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some new engine apps will be coming.
Yep.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, so someone on Twitch is asking how well the mice work with people with larger hands. So I think there's two ways to answer that question. One, I would categorize these mice as medium to large size mice. I mean, they're
Rival
definitely
100 would definitely be our offering if you're looking for something smaller.
Yep. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then if you're looking for like a true palm grip kind of MMO style, we have the Rival 500.
Yeah.
But I would say these are medium to medium large kind of size. And another thing about this was we really wanted to offer the Rival form factor and the Sensei form factor. So same specs, same everything, just different form factors to accommodate people's different hand size and grip style.
Yeah, the worst thing that could happen is that you absolutely love the form factor, but no, you're not getting as good a sensor or something like that. So that was like, we didn't want to do that.
So these will even work with Trump size hands. Oh wait, can't get political. Sorry.
You went there. Uh-oh.
Okay, next question.
We're going fast.
It's gonna go downhill real quick.
Hit in the hands. All right, let's.
Sorry, we're getting bombarded with political comments now.
Yeah.
So we're trying to find a.
Polling. We're polling new questions. Got it.
Boom.
Yeah. Make sure you type your questions. No, don't be silent. Okay. Are we frozen on the comments? Okay, here we go. You want to take that one about the polling rate? I mean, it's just pretty standard. I mean,
yeah. I mean, our mouse, like our other mice, has you can customize 250, 125, 250, 500, or 1,000 hertz polling rate, which dictates how often your host PC will poll or read your data from your mouse. So.
Mm-hmm. Looks like we have a lot of Rival 700 fans. This is this is great to hear. Love that mouse. So I mean, in CS, I think I see a question is about the Rival 700 and the haptic feedback or the tactile alerts and the vibration. In CS:GO, yeah, I mean, we'll look at potentially adding even more features to that. But I mean, there are some customizable settings that you can do with the vibration. I mean, one of my favorite ones that we institute is I got this bad habit in CS:GO of alt tabbing out in between rounds, and nothing worse is when you go back in and the freeze time is over or the buy time is over. I love on the Rival 700 of how it vibrates to let me know the round is starting. I configure it that way, so I know even if I'm on Windows, my mouse is going to vibrate when the round starts, and then I can get back in to the game. So that's another thing with the Rival 700. We are looking, and we will have some news soon on new features for the Rival 700 that work specifically with haptic feedback. So we're not done there. We're going to continue to add more and more functionality to that product. Of course, you can sync all the light on your gear. I mean, that's what we have. That's what we have. Prism Sync in the software to be able to, one-click of lighting effects to sync all your products. You could do, type lighting effects. You could do, of course, rainbows, double rainbows, triple rainbows, whatever you fancy. So it's a really nice personalization piece, and that'll work with all of our Prism-enabled RGB devices. And you could just check on the product page, and if it's RGB and it says Prism-enabled, you got support.
So we have some users asking to see the mice again.
Okay.
Mouses, whatever your
Mises.
preferred languages. So this is the Rival 310.
Sensei 310.
Trying to give you guys beauty shots.
Like we're
It's
in
harder than it looks.
Price is Right, Vanna White. Let's see how long we can do this without anybody saying anything. So beautiful. Thank you. Wait until you get the lighting going. Be mesmerized. I mean, I mean, we were talking about some of the SROMs and what you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really want to comment too much on custom SROMs and static SROMs. I'll have to pass. I don't want to answer that because I will just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because as we're pushing the envelope, especially for pro player specifications and what they're using, it's something we're locked into that.
Yeah.
All right, we have another question coming through.
As this question's coming through, I saw a previous question where somebody asked about Amazon Alexa integration
Yeah.
with GameSense. It's a great idea. I love it.
I think everybody should contact Amazon. Let them know you want them to work with your SteelSeries product. That would help us out tremendously.
Yeah, and also the GameSense, it's the SDK and documentation is available. So
Yeah.
if you want to play around with it, go ahead. But it's a great idea. I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's a pretty. I mean, so we're getting another question about the 3360 and kind of how does it stack up to TrueMove 3. So of course, I mean we all know 3360 is just this legendary sensor. We use it in our Rival 500. We use it in our Rival 700. So we developed a custom sensor with PixArt on the Rival 100, and so we went with them. And after looking at some of the specifications other than CPI and inches per second, we wanted to build upon really the success of the 3360, but focus in some traditionally different areas. What tends to happen, to give you guys a little bit of insight, is that some people, competitors, and even people within the industry, where it's known, with some of these sensor technology people, is that what tends to happen is that you'll see the 3360 and we'll say, this is so great of a sensor, but I want higher CPI. Can I do 20,000? Can I customize the CPI to be higher? Oh, I want to do IPS. I don't want 250, 240 IPS. I want 600 IPS. And then that's what people focus in on, where we just said, we don't care about those things. We want to focus in on 4 things to enhance the 3360 within the one-to-one tracking, the latency, the jitter reduction, and then also, and then all that secret sauce comes through the SROM. So we've taken a fundamentally different approach from what I've seen within the industry for the last 2 to 3 years on how people view the 3360 or how they enhance the 3360. And it's not all about, having a big shiny, number on the front of our box that says 20,000 CPI.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we wanted to do. So differences. We got a question. The differences between the Rival 310 and the Sensei 310, and feature-wise. So all the same great technology. TrueMove 3, split trigger design. Matte, fingerprint-resistant top finish on the product. Silicone side grips.
Yep.
TrueMove 3 sensor. All keeps TrueMove, TrueMove, TrueMove. And then, the only difference is the form factor. So you get the right ergonomical design in the Rival 310, and then your legendary Sensei design on the Sensei 310. You choose what works best for you, but you get the same great tech on both products.
Yep. Same features.
Should we do it again?
You choose your form factor. We're terrible at this.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got to scroll down. We got so many questions coming in.
Where to get it? So the product launched today, as you're all aware, and it's available exclusively on SteelSeries.com worldwide. And over the next month or so, you'll see it available in a lot of the normal places and channels that you'd find our SteelSeries products.
Yep.
So yeah, if you want it now, SteelSeries.com is your place.
$59.99 USD. Grab it now, while supplies last. That was so cheesy.
Yeah, that should be the animated GIF.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, everyone. It was awesome
you.
to be able to answer some of your questions. I hope you guys are super excited as we're excited about these products. And this is just the starting with Arctis, coming out with these products. Hopefully this isn't our last AMA we're able to do with you in the future. We're really excited at SteelSeries, and this is just the start of greatness.
Thanks. Goodbye, everyone.